Hi everyone. After some feedback at class, I've decided to go ahead and make a short video on the final assessment in your workbook. So I hope this helps as you're preparing, getting ready for your assessment. So as you can see, I already have the SS assessment sheet up on the screen for you, and I'm making sure that I'm in the expend sheet. So the first thing we need to do is change the widths of the columns so that all the data is displayed in full. So I'm going to go up between the A and the B until I see a two-way arrow, which you can now see, and I'm going to click and hold and just stretch that out until I'm happy with the width of it. I'm also not happy with the width of columns B to E, so I'm going to highlight with the black arrow starting on top of B, going over to E, and just double clicking now between them. And again, that's not quite right what I want, so I'm just going to move them all out so they're quite even. If you were told to make these, let's say, X wide, remember all you have to do is click on it and say column width, and then you can determine the column width. So I'm going to make all these 10, for example. So 10 and OK. So they're all equal now. OK, change the heading in A1 now. So I'm going to click here and change this heading so it reads Trends. Now put the caps lock off. Trends October to December. And I've been actually asked to change this, so I'll click on top of it. I've been actually asked to change this to Verdana, so Verdana and size 23. And enter, so that's that done. I've also been actually asked to change this to bold, which it already is. Well, not italics, I'm going to take italics off, and to a dark blue font. I think that's dark enough really. Done. And I've been actually asked to centre this across all existing columns, which is from A through to E, merge and centre. Put a pale colour yellow into the background, so I'm clicking on this and OK. And go to your border controls here and put a thick border around the outside. Click away and you can see that that's done. So that's down to number 3. Number 4, insert your name as a header in the top right hand corner. So we need to go to Insert, Text, Header and Footer, click into the right area, type in your name, click into the cell, and if you want to go back to normal view, come down onto the bar here and click on normal view, and you've gone back to normal view. Okay, we need to make sure that landscape orientation is being used, so we'll click on page layout, click on orientation, and it is. If you needed landscape, obviously you would just click on this one, but everything is now going to order. Number 5, fill in A3 to E3, so A3 to E3. What we need to do is fill it in with a pale blue, so I'm going to go back up to the Home tab, open up here, get a pale blue colour. To change it to a heavy border, sorry, not a heavy border, change this row height to only 30. So I'm going to get my black arrow pointing in the 3, right click, row height, changing that to 30, and OK, so the height is 30. And now I'm going to make sure that these are centered vertically and right aligned horizontally. So I'm going to highlight from October to total. I'm going to click on the center and to the right into the middle. So that's perfectly done there now, which is excellent. Change the values in B7 and D11. So B7, change this value to 777 and D11 to 481. That's just changing cells. Insert a function in cell E4, so we'll go to E4 and insert a function to add up these numbers. So I'm going to do it this way, equals sum, open the bracket, taking my mouse, highlighting the 3 figures, closing the bracket and enter. Going on top of this, getting the black copy across and pulling it all the way down. Then just go back and get rid of what you don't want, these 2 zeros for instance. It's much quicker than doing it twice over. Now we need to go in here into opposite total expenditure, and we need to add up all of these. So that is equals sum, open the bracket, from 777 121256, close the bracket and enter. Let's go back on top of it, get the black copy across and take it all the way through. So with that done now, we can go on to the next bit. Okay, so we're now at number 9. So we need to go to the balance, and what we need to do is we need to do a straightforward subtraction, taking the expenditure away from the income. So that's simply equals income minus expenditure and enter. Go back on top of it, get your black copy cross and copy it through to the total. We now need to go to average expenditure, and we need the average of October. So this is equal to average, open the bracket, going from the first to the last number of the array, closing the bracket and enter. Clicking on top of it, going to our black copy cross and through to December. We now need to go to the maximum. This would be equals max, closing the bracket, again identifying the same array, close the brackets and enter, clicking on top of it, getting our black copy cross and bring it over. The same with minimum expenditure, equals MIN, open the bracket, highlight the area in question, close the bracket and enter. Again, let's go up here and take this across to there. Okay, so that's that section there done. So we now move on to the next question, and the next question is number 13, and it wants us to change all the figures that we've done to date that have a separator for thousands and no decimal places. So we'll highlight all the figures in question, we'll click on the comma, and we'll reduce, we'll decrease to no decimal places, and click away. Change only the income row to show the euro symbol with 2 decimal places. So we will hide just this area. We will come up here and we will choose the English Irish for the euro and decrease it so no decimal places are shown. No, I beg your pardon, we're supposed to leave it with 2. So there we go, back to 2 again and click away. In cell B23, what we need to do here is to insert a formula that will display the text under if the value in B18 is less than or equal to 750, or have the word over, and then copy this across to D23. So this would be equals if, open the bracket, if B18 is less than or equal to 750, comma, open the quote marks, and here we want the word under, end of quote marks, comma, otherwise we want the word over. Quote marks, over, end of quote marks, close the bracket and enter. Dicking on under, getting the black copy across and bringing that through to December, which is column D as requested. Now we'll go to the counting sheet, and we need to complete these 3 questions. How many cells have numbers, how many cells have any content, how many cells are blank, using the same array of A2 through to B7. So in here, this is going to be equal to count, opening up the bracket, identify the array that I've just identified to you, close the brackets and enter. How many cells of any content would be equals count A, open up the bracket, identify exactly the same array again, close the bracket and enter, and the final one equals count blank, open up the bracket, identify the array, close the bracket and enter. Okay, so that's the counting one done. Now let's go to the awards sheet, and what we need to do here is we need to list this by county in descending order. So the first thing we'll do is we'll identify by highlighting all the area in question. Then we go to sort and filter, and we ask for a custom sort, and it knows it's got a data as headings. It's already got the 3 headings in there. Let me just move that away. As you can see, county, surname, first name. So county is what we want. but we don't want it A to Z. What we want is actually the other way around, Z to A, and OK. And you'll notice then that the county is in alphabetical order, but in reverse alphabetical order. Staying with this particular one, we now need to change it to do all sorts of different things for the printing. So let's have a quick look to see what it is at the moment. So we go here, and I'll go to print. We see there's page 1, page 2, and page 3. OK. It wants us to put rows 1 to 3 so that they'll be shown on the top of any printed pages from here. So I need to go to page layout. I need to go to print titles. Just move this over for a bit so you can see what I'm going to do. Rows to repeat at the top. I'm going to click in here, and I am going to highlight rows 1 through to 3. The next thing is the grid lines. I've got two choices here, and once this particular screen is open, I can just simply click to show the grid lines. But if this screen was not open, this area would be black, and I could just simply click here. And I'm going to say OK. You can see it's now put it to black anyway. OK, the next thing is to put page numbers in the middle. So I need to go back to Insert. I need to go to Text, Headers and Footer. I need to go down to the footer, into the middle, and insert number of pages. And I'm fine with that, so I'm going to click out and then go back to normal view, and we're back again. Okay, so what else is left there? We've done the rows at the top, we've got the grid lines, we've got the page numbers, and now we have to make sure that it only prints on 2 pages. So we're going to go to File, we're going to go to Print, and currently, as you can see down here, there are 3 pages. So what we need to do here, we need to go to Scaling, we need to go to Custom Scaling Options, and then you need to fit it to 1 page wide by 2 pages tall, and OK. And you can see now we only have 2 pages. The headings are on page 1 and on page 2, and we've got grid lines. We now need to go to the Products worksheet. We now need to go to the Products worksheet, and using absolute referencing we need to figure out how much the chocolate number is as a percentage of the total. And if the total doesn't exist, make sure you put it in before you start and just do the sum function. But anyway, it's there this time, so we'll fire ahead. So we're going to say this is equal to the amount of chocolate divided by the overall amount, and because the overall amount is not going to change location, we're going to make it absolute, and by tapping F4 that makes it static. Enter, go on top of it, let's change it to a decimal place, a percentage, so let's click on percentage, which is excellent, and we were told to create it up to 1 decimal place, so we'll increase it to 1. We'll get our black copy across now and bring it all the way down. Click away, and that's the percentages done. We're now going to proceed to the S&D sheet, and again, right now I can see nothing, but there is something there, so just scroll up or go up to it. Here we are. So basically what we need to do now is we need to complete this supply and demand chart. So we're going to highlight from price all the way down to here. We're going to go to Insert. We're going to ask for a scatter, and the one I want is this one here, and if you just hover over it you'll see what it is. It's a scatter with smooth lines and markers, and let's click away. Now again you can see here that this does not represent a supply and demand chart correctly, because this particular one, the supply, should always be up this other axis, so we need to change this around. So to do this, let's go ahead and right click anywhere in the middle of it, let's select the data, and this comes up. And there's a few ways of doing this, but I'm just going to stick to one, and I think this is probably the most straightforward way. I'm going to delete these to begin with, so I'm going to remove and remove. And it's easier to start with clean areas than trying to say what will I change this to. So I'm going to add my first series, and this one is going to be quantity supplied. So I click on cell A2 so that will actually go in for me. And now I'm going to go to the X value, and the X value is always equal to either the supply numbers or the demand numbers, depending on which one you're doing at that moment in time. In this instance, the supply we're doing, so I'm going to highlight just the supply numbers. Then the Y value will be the same for both supply and demand, and that is the price. So I'm going to highlight the price, and as you can see, here's our first upward line for the actual supply figures. I'm going to say OK. Back here again, add the second one, And the series name in this instance is obviously the next one, which is the quantity demanded. The X for this, clicking in here, which would be the quantity demanded. And the series value, like I said before, it's the same on both of them, which is the price. Let's click away and let's say OK. And as you can see now, we now have a correct supply and demand chart. To put any dash lines on to get to the equilibrium, if that's what you've been asked to do or required to do in class, just zoom it in so you've got a good vision of it. Let's go to insert, and what I want to do here is get the shapes, get the line, and place the crosshair in the middle, or as close to that crossover as you can see it. Then hold down the shift line, click and hold on the left mouse and go over. This will give you a perfectly straight line, but remember to let go of the left click first before you let go of the shift key. Then let's go to shape outline, let's go to dashes and select a dash for that line. Then repeat the process for the line coming down. So I'll get my line, again take the crosshair so it's right on the middle of that center area, then hold down the click, hold down the shift key, down I go until I get down to the bottom. I let go of my mouse and then I let go of the shift key. Then I'll go to shape outline, go to dashes and choose the same dash. And that's how you can do that if you so wish. I'm just going to now reduce that in size, so push it back to a more normal vision. And that's that particular question, which is question 20 now completed. Now let's go to the food chart, which is in here. And we're asked to create a pie chart to show the months only, and show the percentage of the month to the outside of the pie and explode the smallest slice. So I'm going to highlight from January through to June and the numbers underneath, otherwise it wouldn't make sense. I'm going to go to insert, I'm going to ask for a pie chart like so. I'm going to make this slightly bigger so it's just a little bit better to look at, and just move it over here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to show the percentage of the month to the outside of the pie. So I'm going to go up here to add chart element, and I wish to have data labels, and what I want here is more data label options. It will open up this side issue for us, and then you choose. It's a matter of I want this, I don't want that. In other words, you choose. So in this particular instance, I've actually asked for the percentages to the outside. So I don't want the values, but I do want the percentages. I don't particularly want leader lines, but where I do want it is at the outside of it, which is exactly what we now have. And now let's explode the smallest part of this, which is the 15% one. So let's just click away from the numbers. Click once into the actual pie itself. You'll see the whole pie has been selected. Keep your mouse in that particular slice that you want and click once more. And that will only select that slice of the pie. Now click and hold and you can drag it out. In other words, explode. To change any of these to a different colour, an image, a pattern, or whatever you wish, let's click on one of the slices. Let's go to the bucket of paint. Let's click on fill. And the first thing I'm going to do is change it to a different colour. So I want a solid fill. I come down here to the colours. Then I can choose whatever colour I want. I'm going to go for a really strong red. And as you can see, it's done. I'm going to click on the next one. Again, this time I'm going to go for a gradient, and that's the gradient it's giving me at the moment. If you move these little arrows around, you can actually make it stronger, darker, lighter. In other words, just please experiment. You've got the angle, you can choose an angle, you can do preset gradients. In other words, just have a play around so you can see what it will do for you. I'm going to click on this one now, and I'm going to go to picture. Currently it's put a gradient in, texture. So if I did want a texture, I'll just do that first. There's the line for texture, and I can go in there and say I'd like that texture if I wish. I'm going to click on this one, however, and I'm going to click on the same one again, but this time I want a picture. So I'm going to click on File, and the file will bring me out, and I've got to go find the image that I want. In this instance, I've actually asked for the HTML tag. Now obviously you've got to know where your work is. So I know where my images are, so hopefully you know where your images are. And it's the HTML tag, there it is, and insert it, and there it is there. Okay, so that's one is done. And next 22, change the chart background colour to a pale colour. So I'm going to click in there and I'm just simply going to go to a solid fill, but that is far from pale. So I'm just going to open up the colours and choose a really pale background for it. And 23 I've already done, believe it or not, and that is change all the areas, etc. And that is the complete end of this particular assessment. I hope you get something from this, and good luck in your assessment.